This is the Wealthier You Show. All right, guys, you guys are in for a treat today because I have a really good friend of mine. I met her in person at Social Media Marketing World, and we were in the lobby of one of the hotels. We were chatting for about 20 minutes about faith, about Jesus, about business, and it was absolutely awesome, and I knew I had to get her on the show. I'm incredibly excited to introduce to you Trivinia Barber. Trivinia is the founder of Priority VA, a boutique virtual assistant agency that matches elite-level online entrepreneurs like Amy Porterfield, Todd Herman, with highly skilled assistants who get the online space and come prepared to deliver massive ROI right out of the gate. Trivinia, thank you so much for being on the show.
Sean, it is so my pleasure to be here with you. I was so excited to get to do this with you today.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about Priority VA and how you got started working with virtual assistants. I know a lot of my audience members are VAs. Some of them are struggling. They don't know how to get that real long-term client or find success as a VA. How did you get started, and what specifically does Priority VA do?
So I have a little bit of a different story because I actually started my VA career, back in corporate. Honestly, I was in a corporate gig working for a group of anesthesiologists and always just had this feeling and would tell my superiors all the time, I could do this from home. Why am I driving 45 minutes, paying $8 to park? All this stuff. It just always drove me nuts. And they never really believed it, that I could do and be as efficient as I was in the office at home, until I got pregnant and I was deciding to take 6 months off, and it was unpaid maternity leave. So it was going to be bad, financially for us, but it was going to be bad for them too, because I was going to be gone. And all of a sudden that idea sounded a little bit simpler to them. They're like, well, what if you worked virtually? So I said, okay, let's try it. So I did that for many years, working virtually, some days in the office, some days at home. And with each successive child that I had, worked a little bit more at home, less at the office. And then my husband and I decided to adopt, and felt like God called us to do that. That was a whole new ball game. So at that point I had to go all virtual, all at home. And thankfully they were open to that at that point, and that worked for years. And I started learning about the online space and helping them kind of, deal with some stuff in the online marketing world. And so that was great. And then they got bought out by a national company and they said, come on back to work. And I said, no, thank you. So I started needing to get my own clients. And honestly, I did what a lot of VAs do. And I feel like it's a really great segue. And I started working for an agency. So I worked for an agency, and that was fantastic. Was getting paid squat, nothing really, pennies on the dollar, but I got assigned some really high profile clients. And so because of that then opened up this whole space for me. And a lot of people were coming and saying oh, Trivinia, I want to work with you. And I ran out of time. I was already working full time when I said I only wanted to work part time. And the entrepreneurial light bulbs just went off. I had utilized the skill that I had in the anesthesia group, because what I did for them was I helped them onboard physicians and find and vet and onboard physicians into their company. And so I was like, well, why couldn't I do that for entrepreneurs that are looking for virtual assistants, and really mesh that skill set of me kind of having discernment and intuition and just those things of I can spot a good person and I can spot a bad person, and I can see what you need underneath the surface when you don't really know. So Priority VA was born about 4.5 years ago, started that, stopped doing all client work really just recently this February, where I said, I'm all in on being a CEO of this company, and I'm no longer going to be pushing the buttons and doing the work. And so we have a team of 83 subcontracted virtual assistants serving over 100 clients all around the world. And so and it's great. And so for those that, you said your audience has some VAs that maybe are struggling and really challenged to find long-term client work and stuff. And then here's what I would say to them. Yeah, it is hard for sure. I acknowledge that, you are not crazy. It is not you. It is just this space. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially those solopreneurs or, they're wantrepreneurs or whatever, those are just trying to get started. They're dipping the toe in the VA waters, guys. And you've got to just know that they don't have the revenue yet. They don't have the confidence yet because they've been burned by a lot of virtual assistants. And I'm the black sheep of the VA space. I admit it. I run very counterintuitive to what a lot of the kind of talking heads in this space say. Why I love you and your mission is that you are very much about serving others. And that's really what I've built my business on. I've said that if we just serve and make our clients our priority, hence priority VA, that the money will come, the accolades will come, that affirmation that we just need from the inside, it will come. But what a lot of other people are saying is like, it's all about you. And, we hear all the time, like, you wouldn't ask a plumber for their resume. Why do you ask a VA? I'm a business owner, and it's this sort of like hat that they're building their business built on like what's in it for them instead of what's in it for the client. And I've built $1 million business based on the fact that it's all about the client. And so whatever I'm doing is working. And so I encourage other people to do that, to really just focus on the client and how you can serve them. I'm not saying getting taken advantage of. I don't want that for anyone. And I'm not saying don't charge what you're worth, but I'm saying make it about your clients. And I promise you, all of that fame and success and blah, blah, blah that we all want, it just naturally occurs that way.
So how do you balance serving incredibly, like exceptionally, and being that servant worker in your business as a VA, and also creating that boundary that they're not going to get taken care of? Because I know several individuals who are entrepreneurs who are going to ask for everything, right? Like they're going to ask, give me everything, give me 40 hours plus some.
I had a client tell me one time, very honestly, and I respected the fact that they were honest about it. I want a virtual assistant to be available for me 24/7, but I don't want to pay for it. I mean, they were at least honest about it, right? They at least said it. And so how I was able to layer that in is to say, like, that's okay. And if you need availability 24/7, we can make that happen for you. It can't be one person. It can't be. And here's how we can make that work for them. So I just always instead of just saying like, here's the problem, I identified the problem, but also gave them a solution. And so for those virtual assistants that are like my clients just wanting the world, right? I say clients want unicorns all the time, guys. They do. They want you to be their graphic designer and their copy editor and all of that stuff. And don't fall into that trap. You don't have to be all things for all people. I'm against the grain here. I don't think you have to so niche down and you're only going to be the social media VA. I don't think that that's necessary, because I guarantee you when I started for Amy Porterfield, I wasn't writing her content. Like I was doing customer service for her, right? And it was because I raised my hand and said, yeah, I'll try it. Sure. That I was able to start doing more higher level things for her, right? And so I feel like we limit ourselves when we niche down so much that we kind of don't really know a skill that we didn't know we had, or, something that we hated. I was doing podcast editing. I'd rather gouge my eyes out than do podcast editing, right? I did it and it paid me really well. And I was able to like build a reputation for having the ability to do that stuff. So, it's important to create those boundaries, but be flexible because your clients' needs will change.
What's funny, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what's funny about the fact that you said you did something and you hated it is almost against the grain of just pursue your passion, what you love, and all the things will come to you, right?
Yeah. I mean, we are all entrepreneurs. VAs are entrepreneurs. Yes, they're business owners and all that. But really, if you have virtual assistant in your title, your job is to help people. That is your job, is to help and to serve them. And if that's not truly inside of you, if that's not a core value, if it's all about creating a lifestyle business and all of that stuff, maybe being a virtual assistant is not for you. And I say that with all due respect to people, but people that want to have these VA businesses and they really don't want to serve, then they're kind of in the wrong business. Create a product and you can do that and you can have passive income and you can create all of those things. I just personally don't believe that if we're in a service-based business that we can get away without serving. That's just my reality. I know, I'm so black sheep. I'm like, I'm going to be hated.
I love it. And I think what's honest and real about it is it's very authentic, right? If you're not doing well. Like if this isn't going to be the good fit for you, then stop wasting your time and go pursue something that is going to be a great fit for you.
Exactly. And I've helped a lot of VAs actually do that. You know, when they get into this and they're like, oh, whoa, I don't want to be called at 7:00 at night when a link breaks. Like, don't bug me. You know, I'm like, then this ain't the space for you.
And, you know, I think what's amazing about a really effective VA is how reliant an entrepreneur is on their VA in order to scale the business and the vision and the mission they have. So the entrepreneur that they're working with can't do something unless you're that partner for them, unless you're serving them and helping them fulfill that mission, which is really cool.
Yeah. And one thing, especially for those VAs that are on this call or watching it, I was so blessed to, honestly, I don't know how I got this invitation, but I got it and I said yes, to go to Mastermind Talks. It's Jason Gaynard is just this incredible entrepreneur, and he curates a group of 150 entrepreneurs, and I got invited to go, and I gave a talk there about working and finding great virtual teams. I was talking literally to entrepreneurs that have $50 million businesses. I mean, these are people, like, they know what they are doing. And the common theme that I heard through everyone is that the hardest thing that people have in their business is finding partner, virtual assistants, executive assistants, whatever, that they can trust. The VA industry has such a bad rap, you guys, because we have flaked and we have bailed and we have demanded these crazy rates that you can't get when you just came working from Target. We have burned so many entrepreneurs, and I feel like I have an uphill battle to climb to prove that this industry is worthy, and to prove that this is a viable solution for people. They can't find people that they can trust. And so for those of you who want to grow this business and you're all in on this and like you want this to be your thing, you got to be trustworthy, and you've got to do what you say you're going to do, and you got to not overstate your skills. I see that a lot. You know, people just want a gig, and so they overstate their skills, and then they get into the thick of it and they're like, I can't really do this. So be truthful, have integrity, and know who you are, and be proud of that, and just fully step into that, how God created you to be.
So, I mean, you just mentioned, who God created you to be. And I think there was a status you posted a couple of maybe weeks ago where you said you absolutely love when you can talk about Jesus with some of your clients. How has faith been applied? I mean, how has it affected your success, your business, some of the decisions you've made?
I have had clients choose to not work with me because I'm pretty faith forward, and that's okay. I've had VAs challenge me and ask if I was being discriminatory because I'm so open about my faith. I've had attorneys tell me I should not mention my faith at all. So it has been, and I'm like, how does Chick-fil-A do it? Chick-fil-A does it. Like, why can't I, and so I've had to learn how to incorporate my faith in an authentic way that didn't feel manufactured to me, because that's what I felt like I was being told by people much smarter than me, that it just needed to be very strategic. And I was like, well, I'm sorry if I say something about Jesus, like I'm sorry, it's just going to come out. So my faith has impacted my business in a few ways. I've had to make some really, really hard choices in my business, choices to say no to clients that would bring me a lot of money because our values just didn't align. I've had to say no to working with virtual assistants because I've seen them be bashing people like me. And so, things like that. So that's always had to play a part in it. I used to have this thing in the back of my office, and it said, "Be still and know that I am God," or it's like one of my favorite verses. And I took it down because people would complain on calls and stuff. And I was like, okay, like I don't want to be a barrier to people learning about God. But I've seen it work in other ways, where I had a client one time and I said, God told me to adopt. Like, it was just in conversation. And when God told us to adopt, and she said, next time we get together, can you break that down to me? Like, what do you mean God told you to adopt? And I was like, oh, ho, ho. So when we were in person, we got to have an hour-long discussion about the Holy Spirit and how, he moved in my life and stuff. And so I was able to talk to a non-believer about the Holy Spirit and him and how he impacts my life and things like that. And so I say that this business is a mission field. Like it doesn't look like when I went to Tanzania and I spent weeks over there, like talking and praying and, teaching people about Jesus, but this is absolutely a mission field.
Wow.
And it's manifested in the way that I engage with people, in the way that I deal with the problem client or the VA that burns me, that I could sue the pants off of them. And I choose not to. And sometimes I choose to do it, but so it shows up in all sorts of ways. But mainly, honestly, you guys, for those of you that have a faith component to your world, it shows up in taking those risks that otherwise, like, I wouldn't take, like, because I just know in the end, like, God is sovereign and it's all going to be okay. If I'm in a cardboard box, I don't want to be, but if I'm in a cardboard box, I know that I'm still going to be taken care of. And if a good client leaves me, like, I know that it's okay. And that's maybe God opening a door for a better one to come along. And that's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. And sometimes I doubt it all. But the majority of the time, I'm pretty on par with it.
So I know from my own life and for several of the individuals that I speak to on a daily basis, our business adventure is very ingrained with our relationship with God. So when my business is growing, it's almost as if my relationship with God is growing. Yeah. And when it's not growing, and when it's like, I lost three clients today, my relationship with God is still growing. How did your relationship with God kind of change through your success, through your challenges and failures?
So I did this podcast once on Hack the Entrepreneur, and I didn't know who he was. Honestly, I had no idea, right? I just say, like, I'm like, yes, I'll be on your podcast, whatever. And I remember he said, like, what do you contribute your growth to or whatever? And I said, I work every day like it's going to be gone and instant, like all of this can be gone, because I know God can take it away in a heartbeat, right?